I actually attempted to film this episode in front of the Forest Lake Pizza Hut. But what if I told you that you need to be paying attention to market conditions when there's big changes that occur? Now, I mentioned the Forest Lake Pizza Hut. I attempted to film there because the restaurant had closed. However, I was accosted by their staff and trespassed from the property for filming and trying to film inside of the property, which probably wasn't the greatest move on my behalf. So anyway, Forest Lake, Minnesota Pizza Hut has threw me off the property for attempting to film this episode there. But here's the point I was trying to make, okay? The point I was trying to make is Dashers and Uber Eats drivers need to be paying attention when these types of shifts occur in the market, and you also should assess what type of an effect it has on your particular market. In this case, very little. Because I think, well, first of all, they didn't take customer service very seriously. They were never staffed well enough. And again, their business was doing very poorly. Otherwise, they'd still be open. But they didn't want me looking inside of the property. And he's like, well, the women said that you were looking. I wasn't looking at any women inside there. I didn't see anybody in there. Is the property problem. I just wanted to see to what extent the closure had occurred to this point. I wasn't filming in there. Filming on the external. These were not very nice people to begin with. Even when they were open, they were very mean to drivers. So they will not be missed by most of us. They'll also not be missed by most of the Forest Lake community. It was hanging on by a thread, basically based on nostalgia, but of course, as you probably understand, the quality of their food has completely tanked over the past 10 to 15 years. So this is something that you want to take notice when these happen and assess if you think it's going to make any difference in your market. Very little. First of all, we don't do any deliveries for Domino's up here. They still use their own drivers, so the impact on that front is going to be nil. As for Papa John's, the other major chain that we have here for pizza, minimal. Because I think Papa John's and Pizza Hut didn't compete for the same customers. They also didn't compete with Papa Murphy's, which we also deliver for, but that's the take and bake pizza place. Completely different customer clientele. And again, I think they dug their own grave on this one. They didn't run their business very well, and they were behind the 8 ball with a deteriorating product and very poor service standards, which is how we wound up with this situation today. The closure of the Forest Lake, Minnesota Pizza Hut. Again, not very many customers to be had. The scraps to be left from this closure are very minimal and very little. And again, that's going to probably impact Papa John's modestly, but not a lot of business to be had there. So our impact is slim. I wouldn't say none, but it's very modest. You want to take notes of these things when these things happen, because the market has shifted. It's just not shifted very much here. And again, this is staff that never treated us drivers very well. I typically try to avoid doing pickups at this Pizza Hut because the wait times, again, in Forest Lake average 12 minutes per trip. And they made the average made the average quite a bit worse, because a lot of times they just didn't have enough staff working. You have one person trying to cook numerous pizzas at the same time, and my order last time I was there was like 6th in line. It wasn't even in the oven yet. I canceled, of course, after waiting about whatever the DoorDash app made me wait in that particular instance. And the last time I was there, the dining room was also closed. So again, not enough staff, held to a very low standard. This place dug its own grave. Plain and simple. But it did shift the market, but ever so slightly. But you want to pay attention to these things when they happen. And again, like I said, they're not going to be very missed in this community at all. They're holding on with older customers who are relying on nostalgia back when the product was actually decent. Now the product is god awful. I had a picture of the sign, but of course that's where the employee trespassed me from the property. I have not gone to Pizza Hut in many years, and after that particular experience, I don't intend to ever do so the rest of my life. They are not the nicest people at all, and they are failing because of their own mistakes. They have run themselves into the ground, both on a local level and at corporate levels as well, as they try to cut costs and make their food so much cheaper. And so this is what you wound up with: a withered customer base, largely older, who remembered a better product, and not serving anything remotely as good as it used to be when I was a youngster. Pizza Hut used to be probably the biggest pizza company in the country, a pizza restaurant chain in America. And so this is how far they've fallen. Closing locations with staff that treat people poorly, no customer service skills, and again, the market change as a result of this withered restaurant closing is modest at best. But let's say a better place closes along the way, you do want to be paying attention when that happens. Also, another market change that we just had occurred recently was in the other direction. We had a Mediterranean grill here open here for the first time ever. It's on the west side of town, closer to the freeway. They're reasonably courteous people. It's Mediterranean and Arab employees. They treat customers reasonably well, and dashers too. If the numbers are right, and they're actually bringing down that average right now. The food is almost always ready when I show up at this place. It's excellent, from what I'm understanding. I look forward to helping them grow, as opposed to doing what I did before. It's help Pizza Hut go out of business, although they help themselves. So the opening of the Mediterranean Grill changed our market because it's taking, they're grabbing a decent piece of the pie. Not grabbing anything from Pizza Hut, obviously. Obviously, Pizza Hut's customers are not going to be going to a Mediterranean Grill for their delivery going forward. Totally different customer bases. But I think the addition of that type of a grill here enhances our food base here. Enhances our food market. We've never had anything like this before. So I look forward to making deliveries out of this place, helping them grow. Just like I helped basically dig Pizza Hut's grave by declining their trips over and over again. I didn't say anything to the employee who trespassed me, by the way. There's no reason to argue with these people when you get into a confrontation like this. And I wasn't on a delivery, so they're not gonna report me to DoorDash because they didn't know I was there. They didn't really know I was a DoorDash driver. So again, what if I told you, notice market changes when they occur, assess their impact and how much it's going to be or how little it's going to be, which is what I've done in this particular case. So that said, I will see you on the next go around. Again, peace out, homies.